Hello, my name is Martin. I am here to talk with Taran about some questions he has regarding paranormal combined with some scientific expertise which I might provide. I am a scientist, but I have also a lot of experience in photography, especially in infrared photography, and this would maybe make me a good person to talk about some explanations for some phenomena you investigate. Talking about video proof and registering things with our cameras, we need to understand the full spectrum of light. So the light spectrum what we see with our eyes is in fact a very narrow spectrum of energy. So we use the expression in wavelength. So when we really look into from blue color up to red color, we are talking of a very small area of wavelength. It's only from 400 to 700 nanometer, which we can see with our bare eyes. But there is a lot more light out there which we can't even see with our eyes. So at much more energy-rich light, which has a lower wavelength, this is the ultraviolet light, which is always emitted, for example, by the sun, and that is the cause for your sunburn. When we go to a less energy-rich light and at higher wavelength, above 700 nanometers, we talk about infrared light. Now, how can we use those additional light sources to maybe register something which is not visible to our eyes? And there are reports that manifestations could be seen better in infrared light. Some others say they are better in ultraviolet light. Unfortunately, nowadays cameras give us the opportunity to do this. When we convert our irregular digital camera in a so-called full spectrum camera, we can really get the whole area of visible and invisible light for us. And depending on the techniques which you use, you can limit this to a certain area that you only register at ultraviolet light or at infrared light, or you do a combination of different light sources. And we simply don't know what to search at in which frequency or wavelength. So what we need to do is simply testing it at different wavelengths and seeing what we can catch. If there's anything present or if we see something rushing through our frame when we take a video stream. An additional remark in regard to the full frame camera is that you need to be cautious by just filming in the full spectrum, because in this case you see everything and nothing. You get a mix of all kind of light energy sources here, ranging from the ultraviolet to the upper high infrared spectrum, including the visible light. So you might overlay a lot of different light sources in one frame, which really doesn't make a lot of sense to really extract the good information. So you better use suitable filters to limit the wavelength of your recorded photo or video stream up front. Limit it to either the ultraviolet or only to the infrared, or also as an option just for the visible light. In infrared photography, you can use different kind of filters depending on which kind of image you want to get in the end. The most often used filter is a 720 nanometer filter, which means everything below 720 nanometer is cut off and is not visible in your final image. But everything above 720 nanometers will be recorded as to the extent of your camera sensor, which goes up to 1600 nanometers. And you have other filters, like in the ultraviolet, you simply use a 200 nanometer filter, and you can also then cut off with those filters everything what is above the 200 to 300 nanometers, which is the visible light and the infrared light. So you only want to have the ultraviolet light passing through. So what sound really is, it's nothing else than a sort of energy, of a frequency. And we have a lot of frequency. Even light is nothing else than a specific frequency, but at a different frequency than, for example, the voice, the tonal range. And you can imagine that this is like a wave function. It's like a curve function, and the amplitudes, the ups and downs, are just either more narrower or they are wider. And this difference makes the energy of certain sound waves or light waves, and they are registered with different devices, and we hear the sound waves obviously as a sound, like the voice, or we hear it from other noises outside. And this makes a difference to light, which obviously we can't hear because the amplitude and the energy of light waves is very different than the ones from sound waves. So the first question we want to talk about is, how does an EVP really can be explained, and how can we really understand in which way it forms? So EVP, like with every voice, must get the energy from somewhere. And when we talk, like when I talk now in this video, my voice is recorded by the microphone of the camera, because the energy coming out of my vocal cord is converted through the different molecules in the air into some voice. And you see this very well when you, for example, inhale helium, your voice changes a lot. You see the difference in your voice. Also, when you try to talk in a different medium, like in water, which is of course not really easy, but your voice would probably not be even transferred a centimeter because it's just too dense, and the water is not a very good medium to transfer the sound wave. Though when we talk about EVP now, it's something which we don't hear directly when we record it, but we hear it on a tape. So how does it get to the tape? Again, it needs to have the energy, even if it's a low energy, to transmit the sound waves through the medium air in the microphone where we record it later on. And we can now speculate, where does it originally come from? Why is it so low in the energy that we can't hear it with our ears? And there are different theories that it's maybe coming out of a different dimension where we have no easy access to, which takes a lot of energy that we even hear something. It's also that it's just so slowly maybe spoken that we need a higher speed in our tape recorder to really get to certain words. But again, it's all about the energy and how the sound wave is being transmitted. What is sometimes described is that an orb forms in a total pitch dark area. And the question is really, how does such an orb, a ball of light, form out of nothing in a pitch dark area? And again, it comes down to an energy transfer, because even if you're in a pitch dark area and you have no light source present, it doesn't mean that there is no energy. You have energy in your air. Your air is not consistent out of nothing. Your air has molecules in there, predominantly nitrogen and oxygen, and those molecules contain themselves energy by rotating or vibration. And so what you could imagine is that from this energy of the particles in the air, something could take energy out and transform it into another form of energy, which would exhibit then as an orb, as light energy. Now, we don't know how this process works. We don't even know how it can be done. But certainly the energy to form a ball of light must come from somewhere, and it must come, if it's in our dimension, what we experience, must come out of the medium which surrounds us, and this is the air. Regarding orbs, often orbs are misinterpreted. So often orbs, when you film in a dark area or in a dimly lit area, are more like dust particles, because your lamp, what you shine into, especially more basement-like room where there's a lot of dust or attic, even small particles, which are then blurred out in your camera, but they are shined against from the camera light or the flashlight, can appear as a bright spot which floats around in the air. And this was in the often misinterpreted as an orb which manifested out of nothing, as well as we had some experiences where small bugs or even some small flies fly across the frame of your camera and fly around, and because they are blurred out, they are unsharp, but they are lit against from the camera light or the flashlight, they could be misinterpreted as orb. Let's talk about some potential manifestations what we are investigating. And here we need to think about what is a potential way how we can observe a manifestation before it might even happen. And one way what is often described in paranormal investigations is that by seeing a temperature drop in the surrounding area before something happens. And this can be very well explained even by science, because whatever happens, whatever forms, in which way, whatever, needs the energy from somewhere. And to take energy out of the air, out of the particles or molecules in the air, this would lead to a drop of the at least local temperature or even more wider temperature in the area where you might be in. So it takes energy out of an existing medium and transfers it into something else. Let's keep it open what it is, if it is an orb, if it is a manifestation, full body manifestation, or what we know as more like an ghost-like image. It needs to take the energy from the surrounding medium, and the side effect of it to take the energy out is we would see a drop in the temperature, and we see this simply also by looking at our batteries, because some batteries are made to last well under colder temperature, whereas others, and especially digital camera batteries, are not so well doing in colder temperature because they are all based on lithium cells and they drain very quickly in colder temperatures. So be aware of this when you investigate and you are wondering a sudden drop of your battery power in your camera. You simply might be in a colder area. Talking about temperature, something to always be aware of is that temperature is not constantly equally distributed in an area like a house, for example. You might experience it in your own home in wintertime when you turn the heater on, that on the second floor it's normally warmer than on the first floor if it's done by the same thermostat, because warm air is always rising up and cold air is always going down. So in basements you will normally always have a colder temperature, which often use people to store wine and other goods more in basement areas because it's kept colder, because the colder temperature goes down, goes to the lower side of the house, whereas warm air rises. In how we feel about areas when we think something is fearful or there is something which might make your hand stand up, your hair stand up, and your hairs on your neck really starts itching. That could be affected also by the temperature. Simply a temperature drop in colder areas, again basement for example, or when there's a wind chill coming through an attic. In addition, some psychology plays a role, how you feel about the place, how does the environment spark something from you, is it too dark, because we automatically have our defense systems activated when we are in an uncomfortable area, and our body simply reacts on it, even if you don't know it. It's a reflex. Talking about sensations, since we just talked about temperature effects, if we've seen that we were touched by some manifestation, or we have the feeling the hair gets pulled, we simply don't really know, but it's often a reaction combined with feeling uncomfortable at a certain place, the temperature in a certain place, a wind breeze, or even because just feeling uncomfortable might make you feel a little bit more sensitive to the environment than you normally are when you just walk around in daylight at a different place, To really debunk it, that's really nothing really touched you or whatever, left maybe even a mark on your skin, it's best to record it and to have a video proof that something really happened. Again, if something is there that really leaves something on your body, like a mark on your skin, for example, it needs to get the energy to do this, because it can't just come out of nowhere and do it. So the energy must always be there. So you might experience this at the same time when there is a temperature drop.